afternoon, all in the Mulawati now here, so it seems to be having a good time running around. Now, we were talking about earlier the dams and pans that we have around Djuma and whether or not they're good for swimming and for elephants to play, and so let's go quickly have a little look at some ellies frolicking in the water.
Look, they're swimming! Look, Craig, they're swimming! Yay! This is so cool! Go, little elephant, go! It's a little bit deep there for that small one, but you know, nonetheless, swimming out with little brother or big brother. Little snorkel of a trunk coming up. Must be nice for an elephant to swim around in water. They must feel as though they're light as a feather when they submerge themselves. My goodness, look at that tail just sticking out. Bottoms in the air, trunks in the air. And now they're all going in. Oh my goodness, wow, wow, wow. But he is just having a great time. And I hope that you can feel the happiness oozing from this elephant. Because this is the happiest you will ever see any elephant, is when they're in the water. Look here, come two young bulls that are coming to join in. Now these are young boys. Now this is going to be lots of fun. Because they're also getting to the point where they're like, oh, we don't really need mom anymore. We're going to go off and do our own things. They'll still be with the herd, but now I'm sure they're all going to have a great time and play with each other. But they've turned this into almost an ocean. Look at all the waves that are coming off as these two box each other. Oh, boys, you are very funny, and thank you for keeping us entertained.
Now, isn't that special to watch? It's one of my favorite things. I think everybody here at Djuma, in all the presenters, all the cameramen, absolutely love when elephants swim. It is just so joyous, and as Tayla mentioned there, it was very kind of, it oozes this joy, and you can't help but feel the joy with the elephants, and it makes you happy when you see them swimming. I always love watching ellies play and in water, and particularly the really big males, because often males are walking around, they really kind of just do feeding and impose themselves and are quite big and kind of brash creatures and characters, but as soon as they get into the water they become these playful youngsters, and they splash and they chase each other and they on kind of each other's backs and rolling around, and it brings out this playful side of even the biggest of bull elephants, and that's why I really love watching them. And like Taylor said, it just brings joy to you when you sit there and you watch this and you see this process unfold. It is always very cool. So I'm really hoping we're going to see more of that. The temperatures certainly are spiking, and there is water holes for the ellies. Now we just need the elephants to play the game and come back to Djuma. That's all we need. It surprises me how few elephants we've seen. It's really been super surprising. I thought we would have seen a lot more over this period. I mean, we've had green growth, we've got trees that are budding and plants that are growing, and so I would have thought the ellies would have started to come back. But apparently not. It seems as though they are still frolicking somewhere else and enjoying the pastures south of us, north of us, and all around us, because I've spoken to a couple of the other guides in the Sabi Sand, so the guys down in the south and the west, and they're saying that they're seeing lots of elephants, and so maybe the two rivers that are south of us is what's attracting a lot of ellies down that way. Hopefully they'll come back though. I'm sure they will eventually. Becca, you're asking, you know it's hot, but is it humid? At the moment, no, Becca, and the reason why is because we don't have any rain that has fallen. The rain that did fall has been completely kind of passed away by the furnace of heat we've had over the last couple of days, and so it's not humid, very dry heat still. It's still this kind of winter heat. The humidity, I would say, of red-billed quellias that are just on my right hand side here. So this is a bird that often flocks together, get lots of murmurations of red-billed quellias, and I know the last time we saw quellias I was talking about murmurations and groupings, and somebody was tagged me in a link for starling murmurations, and yes, the starling murmurations are probably some of the most spectacular. These guys do. I've seen some crazy murmurations of these guys in over these pans, and it's just black. You can't see anything but these birds move, and these big bull elephants walking through these massive herds massive flocks of quellias. It is just the most unbelievable thing to see. So up in Etosha and parts of Botswana, you see it up there. It's really quite amazing. So we don't get quite the same numbers down here. In Cheetah Plains we get a little bit, but not down here in Djuma. It's not quite the right space for the quellias at the moment. Now, humidity, and I was saying that the humidity at the moment, I read a report is about lose signal there sometimes. It's also just a bit of a test. We're just trying to test areas for the Gari repeater and just see how we're going with it. So I do apologize that we unfortunately lost all of you. And I was talking about the humidity. So I read the fire reports that we get here every day with the fires and the fire index that we have, and it gives a relative humidity on there. And so the humidity for today is about 19%. So it's very low humidity, very dry heat that we're having at the moment. As soon as we get a lot of rain, then it changes. Then we start to get humidity of 70, 80% and quite hot weather as well. And then it becomes quite uncomfortable. When it's dry like this, it's one thing, but when you get that humid heat, then it becomes really uncomfortable and really difficult to actually deal with. So hopefully, we'll hopefully won't have too many days of really high humidity and high heat. It's going to be very unpleasant when you get that. Now, while we were off on Tech Loop, we actually saw some Rhett's helmet shrike. Now, Rhett's helmet shrikes are not shrikes that we see very often. They're not helmet shrikes that we see a lot. We see a lot more of the white-crested helmet shrikes. But the reason why Rhett's are interesting and why I like to see them is because there's a certain bird that follows the Rhett's around. And the reason why is because it parasitizes the Rhett's, and that bird is a thick-billed cuckoo. Now, thick-billed cuckoo, I'm not sure if we've had on Safari Live. I would imagine that Brent might. They're quite. Now, we've just gotten to Buffelshoek Dam, and so sorry, we lost our reception again, and it seems as though all is quiet. I'm just turning so that Wildy doesn't have to deal with the sun too much, so just give me 2 seconds. There is a hippo that is here at Buffelshoek Dam. There's a couple of Egyptian geese as well, but no other sign of anything else. So I was hoping that we would see some more kind of animals drifting around, maybe some ellies drinking. And before we went to Tech Loop, I was talking about a thick-billed cuckoo, and I was saying I'm not sure if we've actually seen them here on Safari Live, and whether or not they have been seen, but they parasitize the Rhett's helmet shrike, and so when you get Rhett's, generally there's thick-billed cuckoos not too far away, and it's a special bird because you don't see them very commonly here. We get a lot of other cuckoo species. I'm trying to actually find this cuckoo now so that I can show you what I'm talking about. There it is. So it's this particular individual. While we wait for our hippo to come back up, seems Scuba Steve must be here because he's quite shy, but this is the thick-billed cuckoo that we don't see very regularly. It's a bird that, like I say, typically only where you find Rhett's helmet strikes. So if we were to see them along the Mulawati would be an area that we would see them, and it's got this kind of rough, sort of rufusy buff kind of color underneath towards the legs, and then a white little throat. And so we do see them quite a lot in Manyaleti and even on the Sand and Sabi rivers. You see them there, but not so much here. Now, like I say, our hippo is being super shy. It won't pop out again. It was pretty much in the middle of the dam. You can actually just see a couple of the ripples radiating out from where he was. Now, he doesn't seem as though he wants to even show himself this morning. So it's one of those days. Birds are flying away, gremlins are around, and the hippo doesn't want to come out and play. And so I don't know where our kind of next plan is. Maybe down towards Chitwa Dam. There he is, actually. Hello, little hippo. It's not so little. That's a rather large hippo, I can tell you. That's a big male. And like I say, I wonder if it's not Scuba Steve. Scuba Steve is the shyest of our hippos here. Yep, under again. I think it might just be Scuba Steve. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go from here. I'm going to go down Drakensberg Road and try and check any sign of Tundi, and then maybe on towards Chitwa, see if there's anything happening there. It doesn't sound like it. I asked the guys in the east what's going on. They said that there was a very brief visual of the two cheetah brothers down on Cheetah Plains going into Mala Mala and Kruger, and so they're not around. And Styx Pride seems to have gone back into Mala Mala with two of the Birminghams, and so there's really not very much on that side either. But nobody's got any updates on Hosanna for me, so I don't know where our little is hanging around. Maybe he's drifting around somewhere on Little Gowrie and he just hasn't been found yet. I'm surprised though, because he's generally an individual that's quite easy to find because he likes waterholes, and so he normally is lying right out in the open. But no sign of him as yet over the last 2 days since we saw him 2 nights ago. But it's strange, I never seem to have much luck with Buffelshoek Dam. It's so surprising because it's such a kind of big dam and a beautiful dam, and I would always think that lots of things would happen here. But it seems as though it's just, I never get too much luck here. A lot of other people have had great luck, and now while we've had the Gowrie repeater down, there's Hosanna's been here a few times, Tingana's been here, Mvula was seen here. So there's been lots actually happening at Gowrie Dam. It's just that we haven't been able to get to it. So now that we've got signal, hopefully that trend continues and that we will break this kind of rut that we're in with Buffelshoek Dam, because like I say, I've yet to even see an elephant put its toe into Buffelshoek Dam, which I would have thought they would have liked to have swam in there. It seems like a good swimming dam. If you think about Chitra and how much they swim there, you would think Buffelshoek would be much of the same, but I just haven't yet seen it. I'm sure somebody has. I'm sure Brent or Jamie or James, Steph even have seen elephants swimming there and had probably had a great time with them swimming in that area. So hopefully my time will come and we will get to see those. I wonder if our super relaxed dwarf mongoose of this little area are going to be around. We had them, when was it? About 2 weeks ago. We had this grouping of dwarf mongoose and they literally just sat on this mound and spent all their time on it. Oh no, don't fly up there, bunting. There's a golden-breasted bunting that's sitting in the tree as well. There we go. Now you can see a bit of the gold coming through. It's right against the light, so it's super not difficult. But there's that white eye stripe as well that gives it away, and a slight yellowing of the throat and chest that we can see even with that harsh light. So nice to see the golden-breasted buntings are still around. They're a bird that we see a lot at waterholes in particular and close to waterholes. So nice bird to see. Now, just trying to see if we can see some more. There we go. There's another one that's actually right out where the sun can see, and it's actually a lot better. There we go. How beautiful is that bird? You can see the gold of its chest. So golden-breasted buntings definitely are one of the prettier birds that we see, and off it goes. Nice. Well done, Graham. Very good. I think we're going to have to do a bit more birding this morning. It's starting to come out now. You're asking, other than the cuckoo, are there birds that will also lay their eggs in other birds' nests, or are there other birds? Yes, there are. So the cuckoos are the main ones, but I'm just trying to think now. I'm going blank, but there are others. Give me 2 seconds, it'll come to me. I, for some reason, can't remember some of the other birds that parasitize, which is ridiculous because there are others, and it's just one of those things where I'm having a bit of a brain fade at the moment. So there's a little steenbok. So while I kind of get my brain working and get things kind of going, I just need to jog my memory once again to some of the other birds that will parasitize and will utilize other birds. Why I'm pulling a blank on this, I'm not quite sure, but the widers, so that's another family that does it. That's probably it out of the birds that we get in this area. There might be 1 or 2 that I'm forgetting, but the widers and the cuckoos tend to be quite nasty about those kind of things and tend to do it quite a lot. And there we go, off it goes. This little male steenbok has decided it's now time to run. Beautiful little animal though. But the cuckoos are definitely the best at it. They're very well suited to pushing eggs out, and they even sometimes lay the same color egg, and they'll have exactly the same pattern. Or when their chicks hatch, they'll have like the nape or the gape of the chick will be the exact same color as that of the species that it's actually rolling out, or egg it's rolling out, so that the adults of that particular species don't realize something is wrong and push those eggs or push that chick out. They will feed it until the bond is so strong that even when it starts to change and become this much bigger bird and much different bird, it still kind of is now bonded, and that female will still and male will still feed it, and the adults will still look after it as much as possible. It's a really cool thing to see, and I mean it's amazing that the cuckoos have developed in that way and have evolved to be able to do those kind of things. Come on, animals, where are you this morning? Been nice bumbling about and looking at all kinds of different things. I've quite enjoyed myself this morning, looking at flowers and various other things. Maybe we should decide where else we should go. Hashtag Safari Live. Let me know where you think we should go and check where we haven't checked this morning. Like I say, the hyena den not active anymore. It seems to be a little quiet on that side. There's not much going on at Treehouse and Twin Dam, so maybe Chitwa, I don't know. But hashtag Safari Live if you want to see a certain area and just go and have a little look around and check. Maybe you haven't seen some part of Djuma that you want to see that we haven't kind of spent much time on in recent times. So that can be, I will utilize all of you to decide where I go. I was always good to check all the water points around an area. It's always good to see the tracks on the roads around it, see what's coming, what's going. It seems as though this little hippo pools over here has got no tracks other than impalas, so lots of impala tracks going there, a few little dwarf mongoose tracks as well, but that's it. There's not really much else that's been heading in that direction. So it doesn't seem like Tundi turned north last night. She must have continued on her journey southwards. So we're going to keep Drakensberg all the way to where basically we left her last night and see if the tracks come out there and where they go from there. I have a very strong suspicion that she will have crossed into either Torchwood, Chitwa or Little Gari, one of those three. So I'm just going to double check and make sure, but I think Torchwood is our best bet. And I wonder if she met up with Tumba. Like I say, I know he was around and know he was somewhere on Torchwood when he was last seen, so maybe she's headed in his direction and gone and had a look. I would be surprised though if she went to look for him. I mean, with her being pregnant, she's trying to push away from him more than she's trying to go towards him. But she's been so tolerant of Hosanna, and she seems to be tolerant of Tamba, and it's quite strange behavior, because generally when a female's pregnant, she tries to push away from any other leopard as much as possible, sever that bond with her offspring as completely, but she seems to be fairly tolerant so far. So I wonder if she's not just going to be a little bit more aggressive over the next little bit as we go. I think she's going to find that she's not going to be as sort of into having the young boys around the more pregnant she gets. I think she'll see them more as a threat, and she's going to start being aggressive and push them. Alright, so we've got ideas from some of you as to where I should go. Hit me, Megan, let's see what we got. Okay, alright, so there we go. I think that's an overwhelming good direction. So consulting detective, you say Chitwa in general, and Becca, you say the Weaver's Nest on Chitwa. So there we go. I think Chitwa Dam is where we're going to be heading then. So once we're done with Drakensberg Road, we'll just hop onto Leadwood, from Leadwood down onto Gari Main, and then into Chitwa from there, and we'll go and spend some time at the dam, try and see if we can get some updates, if there's anything else on Chitwa. We might do a little loop around the airstrip, just go and explore a little bit. Why not? So Eduardo, you say you would like to see some leopards wherever that may be. Well, Eduardo, we're trying our level best to find some leopards for you. We generally have been very lucky over the last few months, and so it would be really nice if we could be able to find them. I'm just listening to the radio because there's tracks for lions on Torchwood, but there's also tracks for a leopard somewhere, and I didn't catch exactly where and whether it was male or female. But if it's female, I would guarantee that it must be Tundis in Torchwood, because it sounds like Torchwood somewhere, so I'm going to have to just keep listening. So I'm just waiting for the update now, which I'll get to. But Eduardo, hopefully a leopard. I'd love to see a leopard myself. I always enjoy seeing our leopard friends. But since we're on birds, we might as well just quickly do... no, don't fly away. But there, no, maybe. What do you think, Vildy? Were you going to be no, that's not going to work. So there was a crested barbet that flew away, unfortunately, and not really going to be useful for VM. It's unfortunately in a thick, dense knobthorn, and it's hidden behind 20 branches, so we're not going to be able to see that. What I'm also surprised about is we haven't seen too many flowers just yet, ground flowers, so not too much of the roadside pimpernel or the African violets and various other... So when did this happen? If we haven't had elephants for a while, it looks fairly fresh, doesn't it? Has it been here for a while, Vildy? Oh no, I was hoping. One can be a wishful thinker when having situations where you're looking for certain animals. Now this is not far from where we left Tundi last night. She was just off on my western side. So as I go here, I just want to double check she didn't come out and come down this road anywhere. She potentially might have popped out here somewhere. Interestingly enough, I don't see any sign of her tracks. Nope, she hasn't come out from that junction, so I wonder if she didn't just go straight over Mamba and head southwards and continue her southerly direction that she was taking for most of the day yesterday. Interesting, we'll see. We'll try and just double check and make 100% sure and just see as we go along. If we just watch the road, we might pick up some tracks somewhere. The thing is with Tundi is that she sometimes doesn't walk on roads very often. She'll just cross over a road, and if you don't catch where she's crossed, you miss her tracks quite easily. So she's a difficult female in that regard. She's not one that spends a lot of time walking on roads. She tends to kind of cross roads, and I find when females are pregnant and when they have cubs, they are a lot more like that. So they tend to walk a lot off the roads, and the reason why is it's a lot harder then for hyenas to come across their scent and to follow them around. So what they do is they try and spend more time kind of hidden in the thickets and not to attract as much attention. There's a few. They hear, I mean, you can hear the difference between male and female, but to tell actually apart from one male to another or one female to another, I don't think so. I think that our hearing is just not that developed that we can know that and actually explore that properly. So I don't think that that is the case for us, but leopards themselves most definitely will be able to tell the difference. And I think I've spotted a form of a leopard, not a proper leopard, but one that is got the same name. Yes, I have. There we go. There's a leopard tortoise. So I'm just gonna... Sorry? You thought you were going to do a leopard orchid, Vildy? No, a leopard tortoise is what we're doing. So I'm just turning Vildy so he's got the sun on his favor and doesn't have to shoot into the sun. It's not a great view of this leopard tortoise because he's in the thicket a little bit and in the grass, but there we go, VM. That should help you a little bit. So there you can see the big conical shell. Well, I suppose conical is not the right word, domed shell of a leopard tortoise. Now this is probably quite an old tortoise. You can see it's quite smooth, the shell. This is probably a very old, it looks like maybe an old male. It's although it is quite deep in terms of its shell size and its size, but looking at the wear and tear of that shell and just the general size of this individual, I don't know if this is a female. Females tend to be a lot bigger, and with the shell that is that kind of damaged and that shiny and old, I would say maybe this is just a massive male. It's difficult to say without picking them up and turning them over, and obviously we don't do that, particularly when it's dry like this, is because tortoises have a unique system where they will drink water and they'll store it in a sack called a bursa sack, and if you pick up a tortoise and you handle it, its defensive mechanism is to release that moisture and that water and try and basically push a predator away from it. So in dry conditions, if we do that, the nearest water from where this tortoise would probably take this tortoise 2 days to get to, even though it's not far for us to drive. It's for the tortoise to get there would be very long and very difficult, and so it could dehydrate and die from that. So the moral of the story is we just try not to pick up tortoises ever. So it's difficult to sex them. The easiest way to sex them though is if underneath their shell is the plastron, which is the bottom side of the shell. Then if there's a dent in that, then it is a male. If there is a flat plastron, then it is a female. And the reason why the male has the dent and that sort of indentation is so that when he mounts the female, he doesn't slide off. If he had a straight flattened plastron, he would just slide off and he wouldn't be able to actually grip onto the female shell and be able to mate with her. So that's the one way. The other way is to look at the tail length. The females have longer tails than what the males do. Now that might sound really odd that tortoises have tails, but they do. Underneath that little section is a little tail that is exposed, and when you turn them over you can actually see that little tail. And you'll often find when they get fed on by things like ground hornbills, even hyenas, that's one of the first little things that gets grabbed, and you can actually see it being pulled out. But there we go. You can see it's hiding away now, getting hot, so it's looking for some shade to relax and rest and to camouflage, and so it doesn't attract too much attention to itself. Cool, nice to see. Ginger, you really wanted to see a leopard tortoise, so you're happy that we came and had a little look. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed that, Ginger. Leopard tortoises are awesome little things. I like leopard tortoises. I find them quite intriguing, and they are a highlight of our summer months. There are lots of things going on. You can also hear a bird busy calling on the top here. Becca, you're wondering how old those leopard tortoises can get. Well, they can get close to 100 years old. So 80 is normally sort of normal lifespan, but there has been recorded cases in captivity of them getting close to 100. So very long-lived reptiles. They grow very slowly, but they are beautiful nonetheless. Now, talking about beautiful, you can see that there is a lilac-breasted roller that is sitting on top of this tree, and it is beautiful in that it's got beautiful colors in its backdrop, and it's facing towards the sun, which is nice for us because generally we see a situation where these rollers have a kind of either against the backlight or it's a bit bright and we don't get too much of their colors. So it's nice just to see a lot of their colors, and it is really the most magnificent bird. I know it's common and I know we see a lot of them, but they are magnificent. They really do bring a lot of color to our areas, and particularly in winter when we have very little sign of these guys, it's quite nice to see them. Right, I think we're going to leave our lilac-breasted roller, let it enjoy its morning in the sunshine. Not that it needs to warm up, it's been warm for quite some time already. I don't think there's any need for a warming situation. And I'm going to check Ledwood Road just for the sake of it. I might check a little water point just to see. There's a couple Bateleur eagles actually that are busy flying around, so you can see them soaring. I mean, not soaring, I'm thinking of leopard saws from earlier, but they're busy soaring, like soaring. It's all getting a bit tongue-tied. Like I said, I've been talking quite a bit this morning, so it's all getting a bit tongue-tied. But there you can see our Bateleur just riding the thermals that have started, and that is our male Bateleur with his thin black line and white on the edges of the wings, and you're seeing there. So you can sex these individuals by looking at their wing structures and seeing the coloration in the wings. Now, I don't know, did I just call that a male, Liam? I did. I am completely wrong. It is a female that has the white on the wings. A roller is killing something forward. Oh, there it is. Has it grabbed anything? Let's see, it's coming straight towards us. Of course, it is going to land where there's very bad light, but no, it doesn't have anything in its beak, so it seems as though no sign of any food item there. I hear a grey go-away bird calling. I wonder if it's because it spotted the Bateleur eagles and that's why it's making a bit of a noise. Could be. And so maybe that's why we're hearing the grey go-away bird. I'm interested though. I want to maybe just check this road down, because if that grey go-away bird is calling, might have a situation where there could be something lurking around other than those Bateleur eagles. Generally, grey go-away birds are quite good. They don't really alarm call for Bateleurs. They know Bateleurs are not a threat. They normally alarm call for things, other birds of prey, and Tundi was around this area, so maybe she's still lurking somewhere here. In fact, I got it wrong earlier. She wasn't as far north as what I thought. She was actually just here, south of where I am now. So just in front of me is where I lost her last night, in a horrible thicket that she was sitting in. The chances of her still being there is probably very slim, but it's worth checking. Heather Lily, you want to know what is my favorite bird call and can I make it? I'm just trying to think what my favorite bird call would be. I don't know, actually. I've never really thought about it. There's so many bird calls that I really enjoy. It depends on the time of the year. You know, the woodland kingfisher is always a great one to hear at the start of summer, but by the end of the summer I'm completely over it because they don't keep quiet. Just trying to think, going up this road, so I just want to check where these guys. I just need to turn around quickly. I'm just trying to think what would be my absolute favorites. I don't really know, actually. Like I say, quite a few of them. There is actually one call that I really do like. Unfortunately, I don't get to hear it very often, and making it is, for me, would be almost impossible. I'm tone deaf and musically challenged at the best of times, so making a very nice call would be quite difficult, but I'll play it for you so you can hear what it is. And it is called a gorgeous bush shrike, and I really like their call. I don't know why, but let me turn off so that I can find it on this app quickly. Gorgeous bush shrike, there we go. Now, it's not the most beautiful call that there may be for others, but the reason why I like that call is because it reminds me of my childhood, and I used to go fishing a lot with my grandfather and my brother in an area not too far from here, and there used to be a lot of dense foresty kind of sections, and it was a place where the gorgeous bush shrikes used to spend a lot of time. So I have lots of fond memories of that call and being out with my grandparents and learning and fishing and just being out in nature. And so that call just reminds me of good times and spending times with my brother, and that's why I like it so much. It's one of those calls that we used to hear a lot while fishing, and just kind of sitting there and hearing this sort of liquid bubbly call in the background. And I remember my grandfather often used to, in those days we used to have, we didn't have all the technology that we have nowadays, and we had a tape recorder, so a cassette recorder basically, and he used to put this cassette recorder on the car while we were fishing and just record all the bird sounds, and then later we would go and he would teach us which bird calls were which, and you would hear sometimes the casting of our, because we used to fly fish, so you'd hear the casting, and it was all very peaceful to actually listen to later in the day. So I really kind of reminds me of that, and that's why I like that bird call so much. There's so many others that I enjoy as well. I mean, I do like a lot of the cuckoo calls, so the Diedrich call. Just trying to think what else there is that really. White-bellied sunbird is quite a nice call for me. Yeah, I think those are probably, there's lots. I mean, there's a lot of calls that are associated with different memories and different kind of places and people, and it becomes difficult to have an absolute favorite bird call out of all of them. The Scops owl of the night time, Scops owls are one of my favorites as well. Again, reminds me of a lot of good times that I've had with various people in various bush places. So I suppose that's kind of part of it, is that the calls remind you of things, and that's where your enjoyment for them comes out. Now, Tundi's tracks, unfortunately, it's such a difficult place to be tracking, and there's a car that drove here, so I don't know if they've squashed the tracks or didn't see them, but here they are here, so they haven't even seen these tracks and they drove over them. But they're going straight southwards at the moment. I'm pretty sure she's going to cross towards Torchwood side, but let's just follow the tracks anyway. She was moving along the road here, and maybe, just maybe, she'll be somewhere around. But these tracks we know are from last night. I mean, these are tracks from when she was where we left her. I mean, it wasn't far from where we left her at all, and so she must have moved in this general direction, maybe towards Torchwood. I just want to ask the other guy if he actually saw these tracks and where they went, because maybe he already knows where they've gone, and then we don't waste our time. But I think she must have gone to Torchwood. That's what I think she's done. I don't think she would have continued southwards. Ralph, and I'm wrong, because her tracks do go south here. Yeah, Ralph, did you see these tracks for Tundi here on Leadwood? Yeah, from where I saw you're just going southwards now. Looks like they might cut towards Chitwa line. I just want to check on Chitwa line. So he says no, he didn't see them at all, so he missed them, but that's okay. Let's just check and double check that they didn't come down on cheetah cut line. So no, nothing this side. They must still be going southwards on Leadwood. I'm going to just go down Leadwood a little bit. I have a funny feeling she might have cut across and come onto cheetah cut line a little bit later, but it's worth a bash just going down Leadwood and just checking that she didn't start heading towards, sorry, I just want to double check, didn't start heading towards maybe the Mulawati and Twin Dams. No, nothing there. Alright, cool. So her tracks must carry on going, and the last track I saw was just on this right hand side here, but I don't see anything coming further south, and that's what worries me, is that maybe she's turned off onto one of the thickets and is just walking parallel with the road. It does happen sometimes that you will see that. No. Just a few zebra tracks. I don't see anything more here. The tracks were quite clear on the road, so I should have picked them up by now. This is a nice soft substrate and that we've got here. It's actually quite nice for tracking here. It's got nice soft powdery soil, and when you've got soft powdery soil, tracks really do show up quite nicely, and it's quite easy to actually see what's going on. So I think she must have just crossed straight over. She's definitely not walking with the road itself. Tammy, you say it's so nice that we can spot these footprints. It's amazing. Well, it takes some time to get into it and get used to it. I mean, like I say, I'm by far not the best. There's many people out here that are way better. I mean, Herbie puts all of us to shame and is far better with looking at tracks and spotting tracks and those kind of things. And like I say, Brent is probably a step ahead of most of us in terms of the tracking department. But it's something that the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more you practice, the better it becomes. And so, you know, I suppose tracking is an interest of mine. I really enjoy it, and I like the process, and it's something that is hugely important in what we do here at Djuma. In the Mara is a little different. Here at Djuma, we need to track. If we don't track, we're going to have a tough time of it. Yesterday, we would never have found Tundi had we not tried to track those leopard tracks and that we saw, and that led us then, of course, to Tundi, and so it helped us in that regard. So we need to constantly try and check. Sorry, I thought I just saw her track. Is that her track there? Yes, it is. Okay, so she did come to cheetah cut line. We just missed them, and it's easy to miss tracks sometimes, especially now when it's bright light like what we have now. It's tough. It's not easy to see tracks at all, and I don't blame the guy that missed them, because even now that I know that they should be here, I'm missing them every now and then as well. So it's a tough thing to see, but I think she's gone straight over into Torchwood. There's no tracks that I can see going down further. It's also, unfortunately, a fairly busy road, this, and so a number of people potentially have driven it. But let's just go down with cheetah cut line. There's obviously not much more I can do. This goes into Torchwood, so I can't go there. So I just got to carry on this road and hope that maybe I pick up her track somewhere close by in this general vicinity. I wonder where she went. I wonder where she's going. Maybe she went onto Torchwood just to go in St. Mark. Hold on. What's that? Trying to get a bit of sunlight on some of these tracks, because with the shadow of my car it's quite difficult to see. Nope, those are just Impala tracks there, so those are not to worry about. No, I think she's gone straight over and into Torchwood, so she must have crossed pretty much at that junction and gone in that direction. Now, from what I understand, the last time Tumba was seen was on a termite mound not far from where I am now, just on this other side of these Impalas, and so maybe she went that way. Maybe she met up with Tumba and picked up his scent. I don't know. It's an interesting one, and we'll just have to kind of keep monitoring this area and just try and see when tracks come back over the cut line. But definitely I think she's gone that way. The fact that there's no tracks on this road, it's a soft road, and we should be able to pick up tracks very quickly here, so I'm pretty sure she's gone into Torchwood, unfortunately. But anyway, that's okay. At least we know, and at least we kind of have an idea of where she is. It's worth then this afternoon just coming and checking. We know she moves around. Yesterday afternoon, even in the heat, she moved around the whole afternoon. We pretty much followed her. She went stationary a few times, but otherwise was pretty mobile. And so she could then again walk the afternoon and come back onto Djuma. It's very, very possible. So at least we know where to come and actually check for her, and where her tracks should come out should she come back to Djuma. And it takes us straight to Chitra, which is where we wanted to go anyway. Becca, you want to know what's the difference between Sabi Sands and Djuma? Well, basically Djuma is a section of the Sabi Sands. The Sabi Sands is a grouping of lodges together that have come together and have made an agreement that this is an area that's going to be protected. It is going to be a place where there's not going to be hunting, animals are going to be looked after, and this is going to be a place where wildlife is going to thrive. Djuma just forms a part of that Sabi Sand Game Reserve, and the Sabi Sand Game Reserve forms a part of the Greater Kruger National Park. So it's a kind of, it's almost like Russian dolls if you want to look at it like that. You know, you have those kind of collapsing dolls where it's the bigger one and then smaller and smaller. So that's basically it. It's Djuma is inside Sabi Sand is inside the Greater Kruger Park system, and that's how it works. So it's just the section of the Sabi Sands that we're in. Now we've now crossed from Djuma into Chitra, so this is another section of the Sabi Sands that is under different ownership, because this is all private land that has been pushed together and has a common agreement amongst all these landowners that this is a place that they're going to protect wildlife. And so that's why you have a situation where it's kind of different areas, and why we can't go to Torchwood or to Simambili or Arathusa is because all of these places are owned by different people, and there needs to kind of be negotiations around it between all the different people in order to be able to get it right. Now there's lots of birds flying around. You can see some birds in front of me that are busy flying. So those are green wood hoopus. There's one that's stopped actually on the, oh no, it's now flown. They're now in the marula tree itself. And these guys are always together. They're always in small groups. There you go. You can see it bouncing around with its long, long tail and nice red beak. So these green wood hoopus really do kind of mob together, and they make a serious amount of noise. They are known by a lot of the local men in this area as nickname that they've been given because of the amount of noise that they make. They're much like the Aramark babblers in that once they get together there's just like shouting and carrying on and lots of big sort of calls. There's an owl as well. You see it looks like a little pearl spotted owlet right here just on the tree, so it's just sitting in between. There we go. So little pearl spotted owlet. We saw the barred owlet yesterday, and this is the pearl spotted one. Now I know there's a little branch in front of it at the moment, but I don't want to disturb it too much. I want it to get relaxed with us first before we decide to move. And so I was wondering, there was a few starlings making a bit of noise, and I was wondering if maybe there was something around, and there's our little owlet, and you can see, look, it's false eyes on the back of its head. So that's to stop other predators going after it. So it's got these little false black eyes as it turns. There we go. How cool is that? And he's actually quite out in the open, a lot more out in the open. And there also goes a very cool bird. Hold on, I just want to try and get this bird on camera. It's flying away from us. Vildy, I don't know, you're going to have to be quite quick with this one. But there it goes, is a black-chested snake eagle. So this is a bird that I don't know if some of you will have on your list, but there it is flying away from us. So it's just dipping below the branches, but it's got a very white tummy and a dark chest, and then that barred tail. So black-chested snake eagle, not something we see that often, and it's just gliding away. Unfortunately, hopefully it's going to turn. Come on, turn for us. There you go. You can see the black chest quite clearly now, and we'll get back to our owl as soon as that disappears from our view. It looks like it's going into land. Well done, William. That was very good. Now our bird, our little owlet, should actually be much better from this angle. Hopefully. I mean, the light is not great from where we are, but I'm going to just try and position ourselves so that we can actually see this little owlet a little bit better. There we go, Wiem. How's that? Is that a bit better, Wiem? I think it's going to be not so many obstructions. There we go. Hello, little guy. Now, I know this is one of Byron's favorites. Byron absolutely loves the pearl-spotted owlets, and he's very good at making the call, talking about people that can make calls. So we'll have to get Byron, one day we'll have to phone him when we're on the drive and make him do the call for us maybe, and get Byron involved, since we're not going to see him until next year. He's not going to be back for quite some time now that a lot of the others from Mara are coming back to Djuma, so we won't see Byron until next year. But how cool is that? 2 owls in the space of 2 drives is quite special. You don't see these guys that often, and to spot them is very difficult. You can see if VM comes out a little bit just how tough it is at the moment, and it's in a little bush, and that's all the view is. So that's what we see, is just a little small blob inside there, and so that's why they easily overlooked a lot of the time, and it's why you got to pay attention to a lot of the other birds. So the other birds helped us find this particular owl. The starlings and the magpie shrikes were all around this tree, and they're doing that because this little owl, even though it's small, still hunts other birds, and it is a big hunter of birds, and so you find that they mob it, and they'll alarm call, and they'll make the sounds just like they would for a leopard, except that is for one of these little owls. And so that's super cool to see. I mean, this is very special to have a little owl during the daylight, and especially as open as that. We've now got to a situation where we can see it clearly. You can see those beautiful little yellow eyes, the little white around the eyes. It helps just to bring light in the darkness of the night. And then the little spotted pattern, and you can see the difference between that and what we saw on that barred owlet yesterday. This one has got lots of little dots on the head. The barred owlet had those sort of radiating bands that went away from the eyes. Also, this one has those fake black eyes on the back, which the barred owlet didn't have. And then also the wings is not as much white. There's a noisy hardy-dar that's coming past as well. You can see the owls like... Rita, you're asking if the owls get partially blind in the day. No, they don't. Their eyes are able to deal, much like a leopard, with both sunlight and nighttime, and something like this pearl-spotted owlet is actually more active around sunset and sunrise than it is during the middle of the night, and so their eyes are able to adjust, and their pupils will just dilate accordingly, much like us as humans. Our pupils dilate as it gets darker or lighter, and they move. It's the same thing with them, and you can actually see this owl as its pupils are quite wide open, and it's because it's in the shade at the moment, so it's allowing more light in because of the shady area it is in. So no, it won't be partially blinded at all. It's still going to be able to see just fine, and the reason why it needs to see just fine is because during the day there's a lot of predators that are around, so it's got to deal with birds of prey, so things like goshawks, sparrowhawks, even other things like martial eagles potentially. Then there's also snakes. There's various types of land-based predators like wildcats and servals and all kinds of other things that they have to worry about. So they can't afford to be blinded during the day. They need to be able to still see, and so their eyes are adapted and work well enough that they can do both, and much like the big cats that we see out here as well. Can you see its claws though as well? How cool is that? You can actually see its talons. So they're not claws, they're called talons. I don't know why I said claws, but look at that. They've got big talons for its size of the body in relation. Those are massive, and that's what helps it to be able to grab birds in flight. So you'll find them actually hunting on the wings sometimes, and they grab those birds and then they take them up onto a tree and then they feed off them from there. Obviously they can't hunt big birds, so they'll go after things like firefinches, waxbills, those kind of smaller individual birds that they can then go after. Sunbirds would also be another one as well as insects and various other things. So cool to see. It's very special that we're able to see these owls like we have for the past few days. Diligent, you say owls are your favorite animals? Well, I'm not surprised. They're incredibly interesting creatures, and they've got a lot of differences between any other bird to make them survive the way they do. They have obviously also, generally in a lot of cultures around the world, they exude wisdom, and people always think of owls as being wise birds, and that generally means that people have quite a sort of attraction towards owls and have an affinity towards them and like to kind of talk about them and look at them and see them. So owls generally are actually well received around the world, and I think it's because of culturally and even in terms of movies and books, owls are generally the wise, intelligent, sort of kind creatures, and so they've got good connotations about them. If you think of something more like, there's those spots. Can you see the spots? How cool is that? It does look just like eyes, doesn't it? Very cool. So you can see that this little pearl-spotted owlet is so relaxed with us that it's even turning its back to us, which is pretty amazing. You wouldn't think that you would get a situation where it would do that. Chavez, you want to know what kind of sound this owl makes. Well, I'll play its call for you. Obviously, it's not great to play its call as close as what we are right now, so I'm not going to play it too loud because I don't want this owl to get confused and to worry and to think that there's an intruder. So I'm just going to turn it down, so it's going to be a little faint, but I will play it for you so that you can hear what it sounds like. So you can hear it's got a few kind of calls, but the first part of the call is pretty much what we hear, where it goes that monotonous lower tone, and then all of a sudden it spikes into a higher tone and a much more high-pitched sound. So very, very cool to see. We're going to leave our little owl there. I don't want him to fly off, so I'm going to just leave him, and we're not going to try get any closer or anything like that. I think we had the most wonderful view of that owl. That was super cool. I'm quite happy that we actually got to see that. That was very, very awesome. Let's just try and get out of here without hitting Wildy with the branch. So our choice to come to Chitwa is well rewarded. I know it's not a big animal, but still something special to see and something awesome to see. So it keeps our predator drives going. It might not be a cat drive, and that's okay, but we still have at least a little predator on our drive, which is cool. So I quite like the owls. I could thoroughly spend a lot of time with them, and we've been so fortunate the last few months. I've said it time and time again, we've seen lots of different species of owls. We've had amazing sightings. We had that rose eagle owl with that kill, which looks like maybe a chick of some sort. We've had scops owls, we've had barred owlets, pearl spotted owlets. It's been really cool to see. Now we just need to try and find a Pell's fishing owl. That would be awesome. Now they have been seen in the Sabi sands, and yesterday Brent was asking, we were talking about rare birds, and the Pell's fishing owl is one of them. Heather, the largest owl we have in SA is the Rose eagle owl. So it is a massive individual. I will show you what it looks like fairly quickly. I just need to find myself a place to stop, which will be down at the dam, so that we can look at the beautiful Chitra dam while I try and find the owl in my book. So just hold on 2 seconds. Okay, there we go. So I've got the owl in my book, and I'm going to stop down by the dam now. And well, just to complete our leopard theme drive, since we've seen a leopard tortoise, and VM asked about a leopard orchid. It's against the light, but there's VM's leopard orchid. This is one of the more pretty leopard orchids that we get here in South Africa. It's called a leopard orchid because of its flowers. Its flowers become out. They have yellow with little black spots, much like a leopard's coat, and so it is a orchid that we see rather nicely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head round, because we're going to go stop at the dam anyway, and then we'll have a look at that orchid properly on the way back when the light is a little bit better, and I can also show you our Rose eagle owl that I was talking about just now. So the Rose eagle owl is quite a specialized bird. I've seen them killing some amazing stuff. Because they're a large large owl, they will often go after quite large prey items. So gennets are not safe from them. They go after gennets quite regularly and hunt them quite often. I've seen them with baby civets before, francolins, guinea fowl. Apparently they've even been recorded, I think somebody has recorded them with even a lion or a leopard cub. I'm sure I've read that somewhere before as well, which is pretty insane when you think about it. Imagine seeing a owl with a leopard cub. It would be quite crazy. Now going to get to our weavers just now, but we'll start with our hippos because they just spread out at the moment, and then we'll go to our weavers that are busy building. And you're asking about damselflies and various others. If you look around my head, there is a number of them fluttering about. These are all called banded groundlings and a part of the damselfly family, but there's all our hippos that are just sitting, and so we'll get a quick look at them before we look at our Rose eagle owl. Lots of them hiding under the water, not as exposed today because of the heat. The heat is quite excessive, so they'll all be underwater. But this is the owl I was talking about. So these two that you see next to each other, this is the Rose eagle owl, the one on the left hand side. This is the biggest one that we see here. It is about 3 kilograms at fully grown, so it is a big bird, 6 pounds when it is fully grown, and stands at about just under a meter tall, so it's about 70 centimeters, so it's a really big bird. The Pell's fishing owl sometimes is close in comparison. It's this one here in the middle. The Pell's fishing owl is the one that I was saying is very rare and we don't often see it. This is one that I would love to see here, but is also quite a large owl. It's about 2.5 kilograms at fully grown. So these are the two really big guys, but this is the biggest that we see here, and most certainly the dominant of all the owls out here. And it's easily recognizable by these nice little pink eyelids that you see. Those pink eyelids help for it to be able to kind of just, be recognized and identified. It's one of the key identifying features, and then its size itself. But these damselflies around us are absolutely incredible. They're all just drifting around this area. You can just see the movement of all the damsels as they fly in and out. And what it is like I say, it's banded groundlings are their name. And so the male that you're seeing is the one that's going to have little black bands on its wing. And I don't know how easy it is to tell them apart because they're moving quite fast. But the male's got little black bands on the wing and the female doesn't. And so what we're seeing here is mating. They're effectively effectively. This is all the damsels coming together, and they're trying to basically reproduce and form more little damsel larvae that they will lay inside the water itself, and those nymphs will then cruise around until they metamorphosize into adult dragonflies or damsels that you see here. But I was saying earlier that the hippos are going to be fairly kind of static in the water, and the reason why is because it's at a situation today where it's very, very hot, and so they're going to dehydrate and their skin is going to burn very easily. And so what we're going to see today is, as opposed to what we've been seeing over the last few months where the hippos have been quite out and quite open and been sitting high up in the water, now they're sitting much lower down because of the lack of, because of the heat. Effectively, it's far too hot, and so they go down. Now, VM thinks he might have spotted something in this tree, so I'm just going to reposition so we can check these nests out of the village weavers, because sometimes you sometimes get hardy-dar, there's a stump behind us as well that we need to be careful of. Sorry guys, it's a rather large stump too, don't want to go over that, so let's go around this way. This is going to be much easier. It's the only stump there is, so it's not good. So I just want to see, because sometimes you'll get a situation where you get snakes going into these weaver nests and trying to go after the weavers themselves. So I just wanted to double check if there's anything inside here. The birds were going a bit crazy. There also seems to be a lack of these village weavers around. Now, Beck, I think it was you that wanted to see the weavers, so you can see the weavers are still busy going about it. There's some of them that have developed a little bit further, some are still quite happy. There's also females that have been lining the nests of those that are complete. So those brown coloured ones are complete now, and they've probably been lined, and you'll find that the females might start laying their eggs in them, whereas the more green coloured ones are still being built as we speak. You can see just the male bird sticking out at the bottom. He's busy just doing finishing touches on the inside of his nest, making sure that he gets everything sorted. Now, I don't know what else is around. There's a few... Whereabouts? Is there a hardy-dar in there? Okay, we're going to have to move. Alright, let's move and see if there's now another nest inside there, because there seems to be some red-billed buffalo weavers that are harvesting material as well. Stop. Alright, so VM's going to show us where this hardy-dar is nesting. Oh, there it is. Look at that. In amongst all of that is a hardy-dar on its own nest. So not only do we have the weavers nesting and the buffalo weavers nesting, but we've now got a hardy-dar as well inside there. And look at how it's just camouflaged. It's really difficult to see it. It's not easy at all. And that hardy-dar is going to sit inside there and just be protecting the eggs and making sure. And that's maybe why a lot of the other birds are flapping around. You can hear the buffalo weavers are making quite a bit of noise as well. How cool is that? So one tree, 3 different species of birds all nesting at the same time. That is so cool. It's not something that we're going to see very often, and certainly not something that I've seen before. 3 different birds nesting in the same place, and all with their own different constructs of a nest. That is absolutely amazing. Super cool. And then you'll see the buffalo weavers also flittering about. They're the dark black birds. They're inside there. They're the ones that are making all the noise. And they're much like the sociable weavers that we were talking about earlier. And they build their nests as communal nesters. So each one will have effectively its own apartment within the nest. Now, what I can tell you about buffalo weavers is that I have a newfound respect for a buffalo weaver. I always thought their nests looked quite flimsy and shaggy and not very useful at all, until such time as I had to go and do some tower work, and I had to climb up and pull out some of the nest to get to the equipment to fix it. And that nest is so well constructed. It is packed with thorns of every description that you can imagine. There are thorns from buffalo thorns, from acacias, from sickle bush, and it is packed tightly, and those nests are really well protected. It is an incredibly well built nest. I mean, you can see those of them there. They look shaggy, they look ridiculous, they look like they wouldn't last at all, but they do. They are incredibly well done, and these buffalo weavers are hard at work at the moment. They're busy repairing, a bit of mating happening there as well. There we go. There was a little bit of fornication and reproduction of the next generation of birds. But you can see they're busy tugging and packing and making the nests at the moment, and busy times around Chitwa Dam for all our nesting birds. It's amazing to actually watch that. There you go. So he picks up a stick, and then it will go to the nest, and it will put that in somewhere else, and then slowly but surely they build these massive big structures. It is absolutely incredible to watch them go about their business. So there we go. It's stolen from somebody else to build its own one. That's a bit naughty. Oh well, it is the way it goes. Very cool to see. Chitwa Dam is just absolutely alive with things at the moment. There's birds everywhere that I look. I can see some sort of movement, whether it be weavers, whether it be there's hardy-dars, whether it be greenbacked herons, which have also flown over the other side, hippos that are all around at the moment. You can actually see that one hippo is using the shade of that dead tree. It's kind of parked itself in the shade. Look, that one there. Well done, you clever thing. You've not only got yourself in the water, but you found yourself some shade as well. It's very, very clever indeed. How cool is that? I love being at Chitwa Dam. It's such a, like I say, a hive of activity. What I don't see is the fish eagles. Now, I thought we would have seen the fish eagles somewhere here. There's one of the buffalo weavers that's going to go down and drink at the moment. So you can see why it's called a red-billed buffalo weaver. That nice, shiny, big red beak and red legs. Very cool. Riti, you're asking why a lot of these birds are nesting near the watering holes. Well, a lot of it is to do with the fact that these are birds that generally are associated with water. They also build these nests a lot of the time for safety. So what's the situation is that tree over there is very difficult for any land-based predator to get to it. It's got to swim across. It's difficult for snakes to get across. Snakes would have to swim, which means they've got to compete with catfish and crocodiles and all kinds of other predators that would see them swimming across water. And so that's why a lot of them like to nest over water. It means it's much more difficult and much more dangerous for the predators to get anywhere near them, particularly these weavers. We know there's a lot of snakes that will try to go after them, and so if the tree is over water, it makes it harder for the snakes to get to them. So it's more that than anything else. It's also habitat, so certain birds rely on certain habitats. So there goes a Diedrich cuckoo. There it goes, it's flying there. Just landing on the top, so that's, I think, the first Diedrich cuckoo of the summer. There we go. Look at that. How cool is that? And that's another one of the cool calls we were talking about earlier, one of my favorite calls. And look at the beauty of this bird. It's got bright white on its front and then emeralds and coppers, and it's displaying. Who's it displaying to? I don't see a female anywhere there, but it's definitely a Diedrich cuckoo. We heard it calling. How excellent is that? Well, who are you displaying to? I don't see your female. So the female must be somewhere close by that this bird is displaying as much as it is. You can see its wings are down, it's kind of twitching its tail, it's bobbing its head, so it's doing its little dance moves, just trying to impress the female, trying to say, look at me, look at how I can move, and look at how pretty I am with all of my colors. Now I'm going to try and just sneak forward. Let's try and keep our eye on it and make sure it doesn't fly, because, oh no, it's coming closer to us now. Come land close to us, come on. No, you're going to fly past us, aren't you? Beautiful colors, well done, Vildi. Yes, it's going to land in this tree here. Come on, land there for us. There we go. Now we might be able to get a bit more of a better view of this little Diedrich cuckoo from up there. I was hoping the colors would shimmer in the light. Now I can't really see because it's so glary now, but hopefully you guys are seeing the greens. There we go. Look at that head and that neck area. Isn't that beautiful? The cuckoos do really add a lot of color to our lives in summer, and against that blue summer sky is absolutely wonderful. There we go, off it goes. There's a few of the mosque swallows that it's busy chasing around. So there's also the female then flew in as well. So there's the female. Should be a little bit more drab in coloration, so she's not quite as bright as the male. Got a few more barring effects on her. And that's where the mate is. So he's definitely seen her and he's displaying, and it's maybe why also when the swallows came past he flew out just to try and chase them. He's also in the tree there somewhere. I just can't see where he's gone. But that's the female that's sitting in that direction. Can you see him, Vildi? Oh, there he is. Look at those beautiful colors. How cool is that? So hardy-dar on its nest, weavers building, other weavers mating, and now a mating display for a cuckoo. It's all happening with the birds this morning. We've had a wonderful day with birds actually this morning. We've had the most epic display. Now I'm going to try and just get myself a little closer. So Tayla Mac all the way in the Masai Mara is going woohoo with regards to our cuckoo. Thanks, Tayla Mac. I know Tayla also loves to watch all the birds as well, much like Brent. I suppose all of us are birders at heart. I mean, it's difficult not to be. We live in an environment where we get so many amazing species of birds that how can you not really want to be kind of into them and watch them and see them go about their business? There's so many beautiful colors and amazing, intricate sort of details about birds, and that's why I suppose we all are into them. I know James is also, he loves birds, as well. I suppose it's just one of those kind of things. The more time you spend in the bush, the more birding becomes a part of your life. You often you start out and you're so concerned about animals and things like that, but actually it's the birds that really are some of the stars of the show out here. So really cool to see. We've had a wonderful kind of little jaunt around Chitwa Dam. It hasn't been many animals around, but it's been absolutely wonderful with the birds. Roshni, who's doing a bird list, and I wonder if many others of you are also doing your bird list, and you say that is number 135, the Diedrich cuckoo on your bird list. Well, I'm glad, Roshni, and I'm sure we're going to add some serious numbers to your bird list as we go through the summer months. There's going to be quite a few that are going to start coming your way, and so I'm pretty sure you're going to have a lot of fun with a lot of different birds, and your list should get more and more and hopefully get to well over the 200. Now, I've come around this side so we can see our leopard orchid a little bit better. It is also, I was saying earlier, it is a beautiful orchid because of its color, but it is also the largest orchid that we get here in South Africa. They get massive. This is still a little orchid. It hasn't grown too much just yet, but what you can see with an orchid and why it's so special is that this plant, its roots do not grow like other trees. The roots are not growing down, they're not growing towards the soil, they're actually growing upwards, if you can see there. And so this tree, what it does is it grows these network of roots in a crisscross formation, and basically it then cannibalizes itself. So as leaves get older and die, it will reabsorb the nutrients from those, as well as trap any leaves that fall from other trees close by. And so those then fall into this leopard orchid, get caught inside there, and are then able to be digested. As far as water goes, they get all their water from water vapor that's in the air and from rainfall, and so they're able to survive on a completely dead tree. This is a dead leadwood. There is no life in this tree whatsoever. It's not absorbing any nutrients from the tree. It is relying wholeheartedly on itself, and it is known as an epiphyte. Now, VM, if you can go up the branch from the orchid itself and just keep going, and then to the left where there's that little branch that comes out near the top there, so that one there. Now, if you can just see on the bottom section there is a nest for a potter wasp. So just to the left a little bit, there it is. You can actually see the tunnels for the potter wasp over there. So that's a type of wasp that builds a nest made out of clay. Very common to see these kind of things on trees themselves. Sometimes you'll even find that waxbills will build their nest very close to these kind of wasps, mostly paper wasps that they build their nest close to. And the reason why is that if anything disturbs that area, the wasps sting it and get rid of them. There's no waxbill nest. Maybe there's something that will nest in that little hole in the tree in the next few months, but other than that, it's just really cool to see it. And I don't think that wasp nest is actually active at the moment. It doesn't see them like there's any sign of wasps at all. Now, there's one other thing that I want to show you about this particular leadwood, because it seems like a dead tree, but we've already seen that there's life in the form of a wasp nest. There will be birds that will live here, there'll be snakes, there'll be lizards, scorpions will love this tree, but there is also another type of plant that is growing on here, and it might be a bit difficult from this angle, but I want to try and show you what I'm talking about because it is very cool. Right, there we go. Heather, you say you love seeing all the plant life. Well, there's another plant here that I want to show you. It's just at the base of the orchid. You see that there's almost a stick that comes down from the base of the orchid and hangs down slightly. Now, that is a strangler fig that is just starting. It is a very small strangler fig, but it is a strangler fig nonetheless that is just starting to grow. And so slowly but surely that strangler fig is using the support of this leadwood, which is strong and very hardwood, and it's going to grow itself down and wrap itself around, and eventually the roots will get into the ground, and eventually you will find that this leadwood won't even be visible from the strangler fig that is over it. So it's pretty cool to see that it's tiny little fig is there, and that fig would have come about from barbets. Barbets would have been the ones that would have probably started this process. They feed off the figs, or green pigeons are another one, and then they land on a tree like this, and because the seeds are very sticky, they scrape their beaks, and that sticky seed then sticks to the leadwood and will then from there grow and cause a tree to start forming. Really, really cool to see. So this morning, like I say, we haven't had many animals, but we've had such amazing plant and bird life. It's been quite wonderful, and I hope that most of you have enjoyed it. It's always good to have drives like this. It makes you appreciate all the little things that we see out here. It makes you appreciate all the small kind of little creatures and all the components that make up this ecosystem that allow our bigger animals to thrive and develop, and for us to be able to then watch them and see them as well. So very special to do a bit of birding and a bit of tree life in a drive. I certainly do enjoy it, and like I say, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well. Riti, so you say today has been your best bird sighting day yet, and you've thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, I'm glad, Riti. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it myself. There goes a little bounding squirrel that's going off towards the jackalberry. Go, squirrel, go. Come on. Up the tree. There we go. Well done. To safety. You don't want to be a squirrel out and about with so many birds of prey around. You need to be very careful. But it has been thoroughly enjoyable, hasn't it? We've had really nice views of some of our less common birds. So we've had situations where we've seen the squirrel is slowly ascending. He's not going very fast at all, actually. I thought he'd go up the tree a lot quicker than what he did. I thought he would disappear, but he's still just making his way slowly up. I think he's a little higher maybe for him. There he is. Or she, I can't tell. And there we go, disappearing behind the tree itself. I thought maybe it would stop there and we could get a better view. But we've had great birds that we are not generally that common, so like that Deidre cuckoo, the black-collared barbets. I mean, we see them, but they're generally obscured views. So today we've had really nice views of a lot of the different birds, and it's made life quite interesting, and we certainly have had a good time. So I've had a good time. I'm sure the black-chested snake eagle, I hope, is added to some of your bird lists, because that's also not one that we get on camera very often at all. So good day for birds all round, that's for sure. And summer will make it even better. We'll start to get more. It's only the start now. You know, there's a lot of birds that are still to come. I did see European beater yesterday, so I'm sure we're going to start seeing the European beaters around a little bit more. We've still got carmines to come. We've got woodland kingfishers. We've got, I saw a steppe buzzard yesterday for the first time, so steppe buzzards still to come. In mass, we've got lesser spotted eagles, steppe eagles, lots of birds to look forward to, and lots of interesting behavior to look forward to. So super exciting times ahead. Also a lot of flowers and insects and all kinds of other things. Now hang on, I think we might have got another bird for our morning. It's busy flying away at the moment. I'm just trying to watch where it's going to land. So no, it's the same green wood hoopoes we saw earlier. I thought it might be a scimitable that might have flown past. Now the scimitable looks very similar to the green wood hoopoo, but it doesn't have the red beak. It has a black beak, and there's a more purple kind of iridescence to it than what the wood hoopoes have. Wood hoopoes tend to have that more green coloration, hence their name. I'm sorry, I just got something in my eye. It feels like an insect of some sort. Marco, yes, there are bets as to when the woodland kingfishers will arrive. I think Louise is on the 5th of November. I said the 6th of November. VM, what were you?
For what?
For the woodland kingfisher.
10th,
I think VM was the 10th. Megan, I think, was the 8th. So I think that's pretty much, if I remember correctly. I don't know if Jared got involved. Jamie was the 8th and Tayla the 30th of October. Ooh, Tate McCurdy. 5 more days. You've got very tight, I'm afraid. I don't think your wish will come true, but you never know. We'll just have to wait. I think we need to open it up for Jared and Peter too, because Jared and Peter are also sitting in FC, I think, so maybe they want to hazard a guess. Ashley in Essentia, lots of people that haven't actually given their guesses yet, so, and they're all thinking. Okay, so Peter's gone with me, 6th of November, so same as I have. Okay, who have we got? So 8th of November is getting very busy. It's Ashley, Jamie and Megan on the 8th. And in Essentia, what is I think? It's another slender mongoose running there. Now I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. It just ran across the road towards that silver cluster leaf, that small silver cluster leaf here. I'm going to try and roll forward and just see. Megs, can you repeat, sorry, which one in Essentia wanted? I was so busy. 7th. Okay, and Jared's not in FC, so we'll have to get Jared's this afternoon. But I think unfortunately our slender mongoose ran away. But while we're kind of here and looking at things, sorry VM, I know I'm making you film all kinds of little things and not leopards, and I know VM and his leopards. There we go. We can see just on the edge of the road here is a little orange flower, and it's aptly named. It's called roadside pimpernel, and roadside pimpernel spends most of its time right next to roads, and it's one of the first few flowers we're starting to see now. They bring a lot of color to this area, bright orange flower, particularly in this sort of drab brownish grass that we've still got in places. So really nice, bright, vivid colors, and they are beautiful in the morning, especially if you've had a bit of mist. They get a little dew on them and a little light reflecting, and they kind of shine. So very pretty flowers, and nice to see them. And it's a flower that we see quite often, and actually it's an interesting one because it's brought up a discussion, because Byron saw them and call them lion's eye, and lion's eye is a sort of local term we use for them, but as far as I know, the species we get here in the Sabi Sands is roadside pimpernel. The correct term for it is roadside pimpernel. Whether or not it's lion's eye or roadside pimpernel is quite difficult to tell. According to what I've read, and thanks GDH for sending this through, because GDH is a mine of knowledge for plants and flowers and really helps us, and so thank you very much. But there's more of a serration apparently on the leaf of the roadside pimpernel than there is on, if I got this right, I needed to just remember, than there is on the lion's eye. But as far as I know, and when I was training and when we were spending time in the Sabi Sands, and the guy that trained us is an incredibly good guide that is incredibly knowledgeable about flowers, and he gave me the scientific name that it was Longi pedunculatum, which is the roadside pimpernel. So it's a bit of a debate at the moment as to which one it is. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to try and at some stage just take a leaf and go back and just double check it, but I think it's Longi pedunculatum, and not, I think the other one is Lancitia, I think is the other name. So we'll just try and kind of work it out and get exactly which one. But as I'm saying, like, in my training it was a roadside pimpernel, but I'm happy to be proven wrong, or happy to see that it is something else. It'll be nice to know and nice to learn these things. So just trying to spot it. No, not visible. There was a bird that was just flying off there that I wanted to try and see if we might land and we could see it. What a beautiful day though. It's seriously warm though. I think today is going to be a hot day, and it's going to be a tough day for some of the animals. Look at that blue sky, not a cloud in the sky. There we go. So Megan is telling me that now that it is almost 8:30 in the morning, that it is 82 Fahrenheit and 28. So we are slowly but surely adding some temperature to our day, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be an absolute scorcher by this afternoon, which will mean that a lot of animals will probably be seeking some shade for the first, I would say probably first hour of drive is going to be a little on the tough side. We might not have too much going on, but then from about 4:30 it should be quite nice, because I think a lot of the animals are going to really be thirsty and really want to go towards water, and hopefully we'll get some exciting sightings. Now there is something flying way up above us here. What it is, I'm not quite sure. VM is going to try and hone in as he does. There's not many better than VM when it comes to circling birds of prey, that's for sure. Now, it looks like, I just wanted to turn for me. It's a vulture definitely, but I'm just wanted to make double sure that it is what I think it is. Yes, it's a hooded vulture that is flying that way, and it's going that side, and hooded vultures are always on the lookout for food. So if you want to know what the hooded vulture looks like, there we go. It's this individual right down at the bottom. It's the smallest of our vultures that we see here. Very easy to tell. It's got a nice slender beak, a little bit of pink on the head as an adult. The juveniles you see here are more grey in coloration, very kind of curved beak but very slender. And then when they're in flight, which is the one that we see here, is you can see it's a kind of blackish bird, but it has a translucent wing. All right, so what you saw there was a bit of white coming through. It's not actually white, it's just that it's a little bit sort of semi-translucent, and it gives that sort of silverish sheen, and that's why we know it's this. The other bird that it could have confused it with potentially would be this white-headed vulture, but the white-headed vulture, this white is so distinct and so easy to see. It is a brilliant white, and there is a lot of it on the sort of chest and breast area. It's also got these very red legs that stand out when they're flying, so definitely not one of those. Hooded vulture is what we're seeing. Also, the white-headed vulture is a much larger bird of prey than what you see from the hoodeds. I think it's time to start heading home, VM. What do you think? Yes, I think so. VM's been very busy this morning, lots of camera work to do and lots of bouncing small critters that have gone all over the place, and so I suppose poor Vildi needs a little bit of breakfast. He's definitely earned his breakfast this morning, so we shall feed you well. Are we having pancakes today, aren't we, VM? It's pancakes, yes, because we've got real maple syrup, because some of the viewers that are staying at Djuma at the moment that I was talking about earlier, they came to visit yesterday just to come and say hello, and they left some real maple syrup that got everybody very excited, and so Amanda said she'll make pancakes for everyone today. So we're going to have pancakes with real maple syrup. Apparently it's maple syrup that is the best maple syrup, and Megan is going woohoo in the background because Megan loves herself some pancakes as well. I think we all like pancakes. Who doesn't like pancakes? I don't think there's many people in the world that don't. Have you ever met somebody who doesn't like pancakes?
No.
No, me neither. Sorry?
Who doesn't like pancakes?
Exactly, who doesn't like pancakes? I think it's much like many other things. Ashley's mom doesn't like pancakes. So Ashley in FC, who's one of our newer additions, her mom doesn't like pancakes. Ashley, we need to talk to your mom. We need to sort something out. There we go, because VM says she hasn't had South African pancakes yet. Once you've had Amanda's pancakes, maybe then we'll find a situation that she'll realize that maybe pancakes are delicious and that they are nutritious as well. Not actually, pancakes are probably not very good for you, especially not covered in all kinds of maple syrup. Hello, warthog. There's a big male warthog that's running off into the distance. Hello, off you go. Goodbye. Oh well. That didn't last very long, but that's typical of warthogs. Anyway, we'll leave those warthogs to it and let that, well, one warthog, not warthogs, not plural, but we'll leave that warthog to it and let him carry on his day and go and enjoy his wallow wherever he's going to be. He's going to be doing a mud wallow, and hopefully he'll have a nice time wherever it is. It's actually where he's heading. Is a little water point on top there. It's a perfect place for a warthog to wallow itself silly. Also, in terms of predators, the warthogs have quite a number of them that they need to look out for. So probably the one that hunts them the most is what we were talking about earlier in the drive, is leopard. Leopard go after them extensively, particularly the piglets. And you'll find pythons will go after the piglets. You'll find will go after them as well, crowned eagles, if they're in areas where crowned eagles occur. You'll find lions, wild dogs, cheetah, hyenas. What else? That's pretty much it. Those are the main predators for a warthog. So they are numerous. It's a lot, and they've got to be careful, especially when they're tiny little piglets, because when they're born, they're not big and beefy like that male warthog we've just seen now. They're small and tiny little sausages with legs, and they're only about this big, and so they're quite a mouthful for a number of different predators. I would imagine even brave servals or caracals would be able to grab themselves a little pork sausage for breakfast if they were clever and sneaky enough, which I know some of the cats are. So definitely still kind of got to keep an eye out for those. And then when they get to big males like that, it's really only a big male leopard or lions that are a problem for them. But don't worry, as much as warthogs are hunted, they also give the predators a hard time. I've seen warthogs chasing pretty much every single predator around in circles. I've seen wild dogs get their bums poked and prodded by a warthog tusk and run away with their tails between their legs. I've seen cheetah being chased. I've seen leopard being chased up a tree. I've seen lions even getting a bit of a fright and running away. So there's a lot of different animals that do get abused by warthogs themselves. So don't have to feel too sorry for a wartie. They are more than capable of looking after themselves as well. Whew, it is getting warm out here though. It's almost time for a drink of water. It's been a lot of talking this morning, so I think water is going to be needed after this if I am to avoid a headache this afternoon. Hopefully you won't have one of those. What do you think, Vem? Where are we going to find a leopard this afternoon? Then, since we can think about plans for this afternoon.
Trying to cool itself.
Trying to cool itself on a clothing line. What do you think about a splash pool at one of the decks of Bateleur?
Yeah,
in the splash pool, yes. I could picture Hosanna lying in the splash pool with his paws out like this, just chilling and sipping on a cocktail, I reckon. Tundi not so much, but I could see Hosanna or Tumba doing it. Both of them are fairly cool cats, and maybe they would like to do that. I think Treehouse Dam. I think Treehouse Dam is where we're going to find something this afternoon. That's what I'm hedging my bet as. And so that's where I think we're going to find a leopard this afternoon. I'm going to put my money on Treehouse Dam, and if not Treehouse Dam, I don't know, then we're going to just scratch around and maybe Hyena Den this afternoon. I think that's what we're going to plan to do this afternoon. It's going to be a hot one, so just try and kind of keep to the shade for the first half and then explore a little bit more towards the end of the drive, I think is going to be how we're going to go about it. So Roshni and apparently lots of other viewers have said thank you for a brilliant drive and that they've thoroughly enjoyed the morning out with myself and VM. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed it too. I really had a good time, and VM, as always, has been on top form with both his camera and his witty comments, which is always nice. And so it's been a wonderful experience. I've had a nice time this morning, and I suppose we have deserved a bit of breakfast, and I'm sure we will make use of the pancakes and maple syrup to the best of our ability, particularly VM. Now, I do only have a minute left of drive, so what I want to try and do is just get through this little horrible section here, because this is sometimes a little gremlin hotspot. So I'm just going to quickly jump through the section before I start to say goodbye to all of you, in the hope that I don't lose any reception and don't have any picture breakup. Well, he still got me perfect, and I managed to do it with lots of time to spare, that I can even find myself a nice shady spot to say goodbye to all of you this morning, which is fantastic. Right, well, it is unfortunately that time, so we are going to start saying goodbye. We are going to head back for breakfast. Hopefully this afternoon the Mara team will be back out and about, and internet issues will be solved from their side. I know Tayla, Brent, Jamie, all rearing to go and want to get out and see what's out there and show you all the wonders of the East African plains. And so from myself and VM and Megan and Ashley and the FC, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that you've had a wonderful time, and we'll see you on the Sunset Safari.